Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. I am so happy that we have an amazing guest with us today. I've been watching her on TV and film, and she's been directing, doing all kinds of things for a long time. She is currently in The First Lady. Many of you have seen her playing Michelle Obama's mom. And she is Regina Taylor. She is actress, director, playwright, educator, and activist. She's a Dallas native, currently writing new plays for Audible and the Old Vic. She's done a ton of stuff, and we're going to talk to her about her career and just where she is today. So please join me in welcoming Regina Taylor.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to have you here today. And I have to say, I have been watching The First Lady because I wanted to be fresh with my Regina Taylor immersion. And you know what, Regina? I had the good fortune when I was running Ebony Magazine to meet uh, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, and Michelle's mom. I actually
Oh,
went to
wow.
her house and sat with her for a while just before when they were running for office. And she is such a down to earth, matter of fact woman and mom. Now, I've seen some interviews that you've done, and you didn't get a chance to be with her, but I know you did a ton of research about her. What did
Yes.
you learn about Marion Robinson?
I've learned that Marion Robinson is fierce. Uh,
Yes.
she is, as you're saying, very down to earth. I think foundationally, Michelle credits her parents in terms of becoming who she is. That it is about family and those ties, which is why it was so wonderful when they went to the White House and we all saw them moving in, and Mama was right there.
Right there.
Invited her mother to join them on this journey, not knowing what might lie ahead, but knowing that you need to keep things solid and rooted, keeping those roots, those Chicago roots, uh, and that the family roots really strong.
I remember when we saw Marion Robinson moving in. Those of us who are part of the Black community, the Black family, we saw that meant so much. That meant that Michelle Obama could be free to figure out how to be First Lady, how to make a stake for herself in a White House that, while many were welcoming, we know many were not. And so, in playing this very important figure, what did you bring to bear in terms of really understanding the Black family?
I know the extended Black family. I understand family that goes from mother, father, grandpa, grandma, aunts, uncles. It's a tribe of folk. It is a unit, and that's so important. Whatever challenges, no matter uh, uh, what signposts that you might be uh, navigating, that you want to keep that tight knit circle solid, those people who have your back.
And, in watching this series, the other first ladies who are highlighted, from many, many years ago, the Obamas are fresh. I mean, this is like, it almost feels like current history. How challenging was it for you to play the role of someone who just filled that position? It's just a few years since they've been out of office.
But yes, it has been a few years. This is our still part of our present history.
Yes.
We're still feeling it, impacted by it, inspired by it. That which keeps us moving through these times, these challenges. Um, in in that, I am mindful of playing a real person.
Hmm.
So I did do as much research as possible, and watched a lot of tapes, talked to a lot of people, uh, but also it is about what we know about them as public figures. Uh, it's out there, not only in uh, interviews, but also uh, things that they've written, said about themselves.
That's right.
And at the same time, there's an understanding that uh, this is not a biopic, it is um, uh, speculative.
Mm.
At certain points when we are not in the room, we were never in the room, we don't know who was in the room. They
Yeah.
were in the room. So there are certain.
And imagining what they might say or think or do in those moments. Yeah.
Exactly,
That,
exactly.
that's stepping into some big shoes too when you think of it, because probably they were watching,
Mm,
you know? So it's an interesting feeling to be a performer and to have the person that you are representing and the family that you're a part of. You're pretty sure that one or more of them watched you in that performance. So what does that do to you to think that that could be true?
uh, there's there's an added sense of responsibility when you play a real person. I know I felt it when I played Anita Hill uh,
Yes.
in HBO movie uh, about her life. I had the opportunity to talk to her and to read her book, to do the research, but there is that added weight. Felt the same way. First role I ever did was Minnie Jean Brown. It was Crisis at Central High, about the first students to integrate the Arkansas school system. So that I had never done TV before and stepped into that still with the understanding, with the knowledge that, oh, this is what people actually went through. And with that movie, uh, we actually shot it at the high school that they integrated. As we were shooting, there were people who came across the street who were living there and saying, yes, I was there on that day, and started retelling to us about the troops coming in and escorting these fragile and brave students into that building. It was then for me, from that moment, an understanding of how we blend our art, our craft, our imaginings, and education, social justice, and awareness of things that are happening in this world, and giving some voice to certain events that we shouldn't forget about.
I'm glad that you went all the way back. I was going to take you there, but thank you for taking us there right away. You know, you were very young at the point of these those huge events in civil rights that kind of shaped where we are today. But for
Yes,
you to portray, to be a part of that film, just you know, just a few years after those things happened. But many people and I'll say of our generation, because we're close in age, um, were shielded from those things. You know, that if you didn't have to know, some parents didn't tell their children because they didn't want them to be exposed to the horrors that had occurred during our fight for freedom.
right.
And you were immersed in it, being in that film. So as you describe, you are portraying something that actually happened, but you're a young person standing in these shoes and filling this role. What went on internally for you, just as a human being and an actor?
Yes, an enlightenment, an enlightenment. Also, yes, uh, uh, Crisis Central High depicted the Little Rock Nine.
Exactly.
And so uh, when that happened, I was a child,
Right.
but still, where in my part of the country, integration happened very slowly. So it was still happening when I was still quite young, integrating an elementary school in
Mm.
Oklahoma.
Mm.
So I understood some of those things firsthand. No, we didn't have troops escorting us, but uh, I did get beat up. Did get spit on. I did get called some names
Wow.
along the way. We
As a
did
little girl.
as a little girl, yes. And we went through NAACP, gave us training as to how we were supposed to comport ourselves as we were even thinking of entering the schools. So, um,
And how old were you when this was happening? When you're getting this training, Regina?
oh, this must have been, was I 10?
Wow.
Somewhere along in there. Uh,
And
and
that's the time, Regina, when parents want their children to just be free to play and learn and feel fearless. And you're being educated by the NAACP about how to protect your life.
Yes, absolutely. And I got a really great foundation with my mother because she was also reason why we're in Oklahoma, born in Dallas, Texas. She moved to Muskogee, Oklahoma as one of the first Black representatives for Social Security at
Mm.
that time. So she was integrating certain institutions even as I was. Uh, and
And
that
did you all
was
talk about your experiences when you would come home from school and she would come home from work, or was those separated?
um, we talked. She did not share at that time. She didn't share exactly what she was going through.
Mhm.
I think that was a mother being protective of her daughter.
Sure.
She gave me a positive uh, reinforcement in terms of what I was going through. That was uh, instilling in me as an African American woman what I was going to face in this world. Period. Certainly with the positive spin that in the time that I was coming of age, a lot of things, laws were changing, and certain doors were open that had not been opened for her early on. She was there uh, making sure those doors were open in terms of her work and in terms of leading by example. I think. Uh, um, I think about it sometimes. I was going, I don't know if I could send my child into um, unknown and dangerous territory uh, with pigtails, uh, um, with the right clothes, and making sure your head is up and back erect, uh, to be polite, to turn the other cheek, to don't go there when other people do, to send my child out into dangerous territory.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. Uh, I don't know how I would feel about that if given a choice. In my circumstance, they had decided that the schools were going to be integrated, and so they closed down the Black schools, uh,
Right.
and so it was a kind of forced integration. It
And
was
Regina, you're bringing up something that, as we look in retrospect,
happening.
there was something extremely negative that occurred with desegregation. Some good things happened, but our schools, I hear
Yes.
it from my parents. I'm from Baltimore. They went to the black schools.
Mhm.
Frederick Douglass High School was the school. It was either that or Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School. I mean, that's where they went.
Right.
And the schools leading up to them were black schools, and the teachers were so invested in ensuring that those black students learned, were well groomed, were
Yes.
prepared for the world. They loved those students,
Yes.
poured their heart and souls in them, and it changed
Mhm.
it. I mean, I was a student of busing, and
Yes.
yeah, it was a good school, but there was a whole lot of stuff that happened on that bus.
Yes.
There were many things that occurred that were not positive as a result of
Yes.
desegregation.
Yes, absolutely. And I was glad that uh, I went to schools that were all Black
Right.
first. It
Hmm.
gave me a sense of self. a grounding in terms of who I am before I was set before eyes that saw me in a different way, in a different light, that questioned my every step and breath. So I knew who I was and was empowered by that. I knew the people in my community, was empowered by that, who we really are, not stereotypical images on TV,
Right.
who we really were with all of our diversity.
And that's foundational and so important. I
Yes.
want to tell everybody you're listening to Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole here on WBAI in New York City. That's 99.5 FM and everywhere online at WBAI.org. We have the honor and privilege of talking to actor, director, amazing woman, Regina Taylor, who right now is starring in The First Lady. And she's done so many other projects, and we're kind of diving into her early years and what formed her as the woman she is, and the roles that she's taken on, and what she brings to those roles, which is truly fascinating. you know um, I love talking to people who come from the South, Regina,
Yes.
because there's so much history
Hmm.
in the South, and we recently celebrated Juneteenth, something that many people across the South celebrated either Juneteenth, which was that day, June 19th, 1865, when folks in Galveston, Texas, got their learned that they were free 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. But one of the things that I discovered, Regina, is that there are different emancipation dates that are celebrated throughout the South as people learned that they were free all along the South. That date became their freedom date. I didn't know this. So it's a wonderful thing to discover that throughout the South, these awakening moments. Oh, we're free. What does that mean? And then fast forward to 2022, and
Hmm.
what does freedom mean? So
Right.
did you know about these emancipation dates when you were growing up?
Yes, yes, we celebrated Juneteenth
You
uh,
did.
just as much as we celebrated July 4th. Absolutely. We would go to Grandpa's house out in the country and shoot some fireworks and uh, had some barbecue. Uh, and it was family time,
Yeah.
time to tell these stories about what people had gone through to the present moment and passing those stories on. That's how I remember it.
I love that that was and is true. And I hope that now that it's a national holiday, that people will remember. We're pausing to remember our history, not just to have a party, not just to have a day off from work, because very often that's what happens at a national holiday. But this notion of freedom is something that this country has been grappling with since its beginning.
Hmm.
And then freedom of people of African descent, it's still a question on the table about, what does equality look like? What are the fights that we are facing? From where have we come since those days in 1865? What what do what do you think people need to be thinking about today as it relates to freedom now?
Well, I think we need to always look at our history. We are repeating history constantly. Every generation has to fight for it. Freedom. How
Yeah,
do you do that? I think some generations since have tried to protect uh, our young people about history and uh, have given a kind of a feeling that uh, we've been through it and it's over. But I think that's why a lot of people are in shock right now,
sure.
truly, uh, that here we are again uh, and needing to fight the good fight in terms of how we will keep what was hard earned and how we keep moving forward rather than being uh, pushed back. And we do feel this rolling back right now in terms of our history. And people proudly proclaiming and claiming the negative aspects that we thought we had negotiated and moved through. Here we are. Here we are.
Well, and to that point, you mentioned that you played Anita Hill, a very important, iconic figure in American history for standing up against sexual impropriety by her boss, who became a Supreme Court justice, which is still shocking, who kind of showed the world that even when you stand up with integrity and strength, sometimes it doesn't matter. Uh, I mean, of course, it mattered. We remember her, but still, Clarence Thomas remains on the court. And we've seen the Me Too movement. You know, when you talk about history moving backwards, what in the world is going on? So, as you played Anita Hill, uh, again, this very important figure who became a lightning rod for so many, and you said you got to talk to her too. What was going on in you as an artist to bring forth? You know our history, you know that story, and you're portraying her as an artist. What were you hoping to bring forward and for people to learn?
The strength and singularity of her voice in that present moment. I was thinking about um, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yes,
I watched that, and uh, so many moments within that, and how she represented. And she has the backbone and wit and strength and grace to uh, have her uh, with so much light in the face of the adversity that she went through and being um, uh, ushered through those hearings. I remember Cory Booker being one of those moments that
that was
conversation
powerful.
that was powerful.
And you saw
And
the loving tears, falling down her cheek, and we were all
we were
sharing.
all crying. I was crying. Uh, and I then thought, then back to Anita Hill, going through those hearings, then resonated. And I was going, nobody was there to
Yeah,
stand up for her publicly to say the things that need to be said in that moment. She went through that.
she did.
Yes.
Yes, the singularity, as you say, because she didn't have people backing her up.
Uh, she went through that uh, public inquisition uh, alone. I'm sure there were people in the back, but to have someone speak out loud uh, in that room, saying uh, she has a right to be heard, and she was pushed into that light,
Sure.
but once she was there, she had the bravery to speak it out loud in the
As,
light of day.
yeah, as an artist, when you take on a role like that and kind of inhabit the spirit of this incredibly powerful woman, how do you take care of yourself? Because that's an emotional load to bear.
Hmm. Yes, you do have to. You do have to uh, go through it as an actor and give everything that you have
Mhm.
in that process, and it is a process then of uh, allowing that spirit to embody you and mix in with your spirit to
Mhm.
um, send that out with some impact. But at the end of the day, you have to um, find some type of ritual to come back into your own space, your own mind, uh, take a little break, and refresh and reset. But I know that what I love about acting so much is that you get to walk in other people's shoes, see the world through their eyes, to expand yourself, your understanding of self, humanity. of yourself. I love these journeys. I call them journeys through these characters, through these plays, through these films. Um, is is for me what I get from it personally is that I do uh, feel uh, enlightened to some degree, expanded to some degree as a human being, how we're connected, what are our weaknesses, what are our strengths. And I try and carry that with me then through whatever I go through in life. I go, okay, now I got to like pull a little bit of Marion Robbins here.
Oh,
Robbins.
yeah, there you go. So, when did
Yes,
you
that's
know that you wanted
necessary.
to be an actor, Regina?
I started out as a writer, and I've written my whole life from as
Mhm.
far back as I can remember. Before I knew even that's what I wanted to do, I was writing. My mother's hand on mine, creating children's books
Oh,
on the floor with crayons and construction paper, maybe 4 years old,
oh,
and
wow.
creating these worlds uh, that was through uh, this central character, this little chocolate girl with pigtails in her hair, to be able to. That was, I think, my mother said, I'm gifting you with this. This is a survival tool. How do you carry from imagination, dreams, imagination to concrete reality? These are the tools. Dreaming, rolling up your sleeve, navigating through it, doing the hard work of it. Uh, how do you manifest your dreams in this world? And how do you make sure that uh, the world that is inside of you is rooted uh, through uh, your own vision, not other people, not other people telling you who you are, naming you. How do you name yourself in this world? So that was the exercise. Uh,
Yeah,
the
great
exercise
exercise.
is writing, and so I thought I was going to be a writer, and
And you
when
are.
I went into yes, when I went into college. I thought, okay, I'm going to be a journalist. It's the practical
Oh,
thing
I see it. Okay, uh-huh.
be a journalist and then write the novel on the side, but you can get a job research or something in journalism. And I took an acting class because a counselor said it would be an easy A, uh,
Mm,
and I needed to fill out an extra credit. So I took that acting class and I went, oh, wow, this is really amazing. In the same way that I love uh, writing, uh, you get to embody uh,
yes.
different people, time travel, uh, and become, and uh, there are no boundaries in terms of race, gender, time. I loved that. So uh, it was very empowering for me, who was very uh, reticent, very shy. That's why I was a writer. I'm more inclined
Mhm.
to writing than to be more an extrovert in the acting. That empowered me a great deal, and I learned a lot about myself in that, and got my first job while I was still in school.
I love that. Let me remind folks you're listening to Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole here on WBAI in New York City. That's 99.5 FM and everywhere online at WBAI.org. I'm so excited today. We're talking to Regina Taylor. She's giving us great context into her career, her life, and history. So I so appreciate that. Dream Leapers is all I created Dream Leapers to inspire people to access and activate their dreams. And what I do is to bring people on who tell us how they've done it for themselves. I don't want anybody listening to just end when you finish listening to go, oh, that was nice, and that's it. Not at all. This is about action. I want you to listen to Regina Taylor and say, okay, what's my dream? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? What can I activate so that I can leap into the greatness that is inside of me, but I may not be cultivating. That's what Dream Leapers is all about. And I love when I find folks to come and talk to us so that we can be reinvigorated. I think all of us can use that extra jolt of energy that says, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And it's not doing what somebody else did, it's doing what you are supposed to do, what your heart tells you that you're supposed to do. And having this forum is so important, as you know. This is commercial free radio. It's completely listener sponsored, which means everyone listening, we rely on you to make sure that we stay alive and thrive. And you can do so by calling us and making a contribution today of any amount. Every penny counts, and you know that. So you can call us at 212-209-2950. I'll repeat the number, 212-209-2950. You can also go online at give to the numeral 2 WBAI.org and make a donation, a one-time donation, or you can become a BAI buddy, which means you give a monthly donation. We all know we have electric bills, phone bills, so does the radio station. So if you'd like to be a sustaining member, we welcome you to do that. Again, the number is 212-209-2950. We appreciate you and want to continue the 62 years that WBAI has been on the radio in spite of everything. And inflation is here, so we need a few extra dollars to make sure that we can cover all of our expenses. So we thank you in advance for making those donations. I'm going to go back to my guest right now, Regina Taylor. You getting that job while you're still in school, I'm sure made a huge difference just in terms of reinforcing I can do this. When folks are in school and it's about to be time to break out and be responsible for yourself, it can be kind of scary. And to choose acting, I mean, not every parent is going to say, "Oh, that's the right career, girl."
Yes,
What was
yes.
your mother saying?
My mother was always a cheerleader.
Oh,
She's, you
wonderful.
know, do whatever you have the ability to do whatever it is you want in this world.
Excellent.
And it was giving me the tools to be able to do that. Let's follow this path. Let's see where this takes you. And so I was encouraged in that with anything and everything. If I wanted to be pilot, I could do that. If I wanted to be an actress, okay. And it was, my family was going, oh, Regina Taylor has lost her mind,
I
spending
bet.
her mama's good earned money, college tuition on what to be what, because I then, after I got uh, the movie, I changed my major to acting officially. Uh,
Okay.
and so they thought I was just crazy. What was I going to do?
I bet
But
they
my
did.
mother was always encouraging. It is to follow your dream, to have a plan, to have a strategy. That's where you gotta do the hard work of it. Anything that you do is gonna incur some costs in terms of time, energy,
What came
capital,
after the
and
film? What were the next projects?
oh, I was still in school, so it was my first time on a plane going to Little Rock, Arkansas, to do Crisis at Central High. I did that film, came back, changed my major, and spent the next couple of years learning the craft of it. Then
And where were you in school, Regina?
that was Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
After I graduated, I went to New York City. I went straight to New York City. And it was a time of uh, then struggle,
Sure.
of starving for a minute and a half at least. That I did everything from dog walking to house sitting to house cleaning to, I put those signs on the walls at
Yes.
night because it's on the street. And it was illegal to put these signs up about these different plays and events that were coming up, those plays that I didn't get cast in. I was doing that at midnight,
Wow.
doing that. and calling my mom every once in a while saying, I need a little bit of money to pay my rent. That was
Sure.
all of,
I interviewed Tyler Perry recently, and one of the things that he said that I thought was so important is for anybody who has a dream,
yes,
you just have to not give up. If it's burning inside of you, you
yes,
do whatever you have to do. And he said, because you just want to see what will happen. And
yes,
that's exactly what he did. And he had a period of time when he was homeless. He was living in his car because it wasn't working yet, it wasn't clicking. So, those jobs you described, I mean, most people who work in the creative arts have done some of those jobs. In fact, many
yes,
people have done it regardless of what their field might be. But you just
yes,
keep at it if that is what you
yes.
believe you're supposed to do, right?
Absolutely. I was sleeping on people's couches for a
Yeah.
while, not having my own place to stay and believing. And it was a lot of fun. I was young, a lot of fun. You come to New York City from, a small town, as it were, into this place that you have from block to block. You have different nations. You have the whole globe on the
Sure.
island of New York City.
And what would
And
you say
so much
was your break, Regina? What was a turning point for you?
Ah, well, there are different turning points. One was being enlisted by the public theater, Joseph Papp's public theater, that I got in, got some breaks there. The casting director just kept bringing me in. She had seen me in a workshop at school at uh, in Dallas, and gave me a card and said, whenever you get to New York City, give me a call. Uh, a couple of years later, I knocked on her door, and she kept bringing me in to these auditions. So I started out as like a spear carrier, no lines, but I'm on stage. Got
Yes.
there to understudy. I understudied Alfred Woodard in
Oh
Map
wow.
of the World there when I first met her. And I then got into this company there, directed by Estelle Parsons, where we did 3 shows in rep. We did As You Like It, we did the M play, Macbeth, and we did Romeo and Juliet. So I did that for about a year and a half, and we traveled to not Central Park, but we went to all the different parks in Manhattan and Brooklyn and
Oh great.
Staten Island. We just traveled around to all these different parks and did those 3 plays. And I just started working myself uh, through these different plays and different characters. I started in Romeo and Juliet with Peter. That was the character Peter. Had 2 lines, something in Hang 'em Jack. I remember that. I did one of the witches, and I did the sister in As You Like It. So I was just very passionate about, if you have 1 line, you got to like give it your all. So I was,
Absolutely.
after rehearsal, practicing my line, hang 'em, Jack. How are you going to say that to best effect? And don't you know, Joseph Papp had been watching from the rafters after rehearsal. I said, "Who is that child? Who is that child?" And he was very encouraging in then my navigation over that year and a half. So by the time, and I was passionate about each and every role, uh,
Yes.
and moved up to, by the time at the end of that year and a half, we had moved to the Belasco Theater on Broadway. And by that time, I was playing Juliet in Romeo and Juliet.
That's something. I mean, he he's known for being a really insightful,
Yes,
creative leader,
yes,
and certainly that was true for you. Very, very important.
absolutely. He opened that door, definitely.
That's
uh,
beautiful.
and then other doors opened. It was at that time, too, we started with, as they say, non traditional casting. I think that's
Yes.
what they were calling it then, non traditional casting. So I got to travel around the United States doing Shakespeare in different companies. across the states, different roles. So that was really wonderful. That was a break, and then I got some movies. Lean on Me, uh,
That was an important movie.
mm,
Important movie.
Mr. Morgan Freeman.
That's
Uh,
right.
that was very a great break.
What was
I,
it like to work with him?
it was wonderful. He was very supportive, and that was my again uh, first uh,
Your first film,
film.
right? Well,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well,
And
actually, I'd
well, you done.
done Sea of Love. I done Sea of Love with Al Pacino, and I told everyone, "Oh, I'm in Sea of Love, and I have a scene with Al Pacino," which I did until it actually came out, and they cut my scene. And I was going, "Oh no!" So I never tell people until I actually see the film now if I'm in it or not. But what actually made it then was "Lean on Me" with Morgan Freeman, and he was very supportive. He gave me a lot of great advice,
Wonderful.
very supportive in working with him, and I really admired him in
Sure.
this man who took the time to um, talk to, advise this young actor in working with
Sure.
him.
That's
I
now.
never forgot that and
I
passed it
can
down.
imagine. Sure, that's so important. And now, years later, you were in a show that I certainly liked, "I'll Fly Away."
I'll fly away. Yes.
Loved that show,
Oh, thank you.
and loved the storytelling. So,
Yes.
for anybody who might not know, tell us what that story was about and your role in it.
Yes. I'll fly away was a series for CBS about um, this woman, Lily Harper, and this lawyer played by Sam Waterston, and how they deal with each other in late 1950s. We shot it in Atlanta, Georgia, the South. And what was interesting to me about it was I brought family. I brought my mother, I brought my grandmother into that role. Uh, and uh, she's a housekeeper. Uh, and what I loved about this was that what you saw uh, was her mind beyond hands, back, hips, her mind. Each show started with um, her diary. So you got inside of her mind and framed each episode through what she was seeing, what she dreamt, uh, how she was feeling about the turn of events of that time period uh, uh, that you saw beyond uh, uh, what one might see or stereotypically see in the role of a housekeeper at that moment in time. And you saw a trajectory. You saw her not just in the White household, you saw her in her community. You saw her in her home with her father, Bill Cobbs, with her daughter, with relationships. So she was not desexed. She had a couple of boyfriends during a period of time. And you saw her being politicized, that she started as a foot soldier. She was a foot soldier, and telling the story then of a foot soldier that may, in terms of our history, remain voiceless. So I really was proud of the work and proud of that series.
Sure, I think it was important, and it just also shows that while you have done non-traditional roles, your roles embodying strong Black women who represent what's going on in history have been very important.
Mm.
I think so. Does it feel like that to you?
Uh, I think uh, I love uh, bringing a perspective to people that um, may be unseen and unheard. I like that. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, and we certainly like you doing it.
Oh,
One
thank you.
last reminder, folks, you're listening to Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole here on WBAI in New York City. That's 99.5 FM and everywhere online at WBAI.org. I love being able to say that we're online because no, it used to be you could only listen to traditional terrestrial radio on the radio wherever you are. And
Mhm.
now you can listen anywhere because you can just go online and turn it on. And I love that because then I can talk to guests wherever they are. An interesting thing that happened during COVID is I
Right.
used to physically go into the studio no matter where my guests were. And now the computer makes it possible to talk to people anywhere at any time. And there's a certain liberation that comes with that
Yes.
because there's more ability to connect with people everywhere and to bring those folks here to, at least for me, to Dream Leapers, to inspire all of you. That is my intention. This is my fourth year of doing this show, and to have someone like Regina Taylor on today just makes me so excited because I've been watching you for so long, Regina, and to be able to talk to you is just wonderful for me, and I know for everyone who's listening. So we're going to go back and talk to Regina in a moment, but let me remind you, please contribute to our beloved radio station, WBAI. You can call us at 212-209-2950. Any amount is a blessing to us, keeping us on the air. You can also go online at give to the numeral 2 WBAI.org. We appreciate you, and it is through listeners that we stay alive all these years, 62 years on the
Mhm.
radio through all kinds of things. And as you know, we tell the truth on WBAI. Not all media does that. We have learned there are all kinds of media out there, but we have a progressive, we're looking through a progressive lens with the intention of inspiring you to live the absolute best life that you can. So please join us in making a contribution today. So, Regina, you have not just been acting, you've been doing a lot of other creative things in the space of storytelling, and including a project that I believe it is on Broadway now. Is that true?
Oh, I don't have anything on Broadway right now. I do have a piece in New York City
Yeah.
that is with Theater for One at
Yeah.
Signature Theater Space. And it's a series of short pieces that they're doing that has Lynn Nottage, David Henry Hwang, Jose Rivera, Samuel Hunter are the other writers in this series. And I'm just really pleased to be a part of it. The series is called Deja Vu with Theater for One. And
And so how does that work, theater for one?
I love it. It is a booth. It's kind of like a confessional that you walk into that holds two people. So you have your actor and you have audience member. And
Wow.
these pieces are monologues. The actor does the monologue as the in this version of it, the one audience members they're witnessing as other audience members are outside waiting to come in to be
and
next. So
and so do
very
you repeat,
intimate.
is it a repetition of the same piece or different aspects of the piece when different audience members come
Yes.
in?
These each writer, five writers, have done short pieces, and they do them in rotation every other day. My piece might be in for the first half of the evening. So yeah,
How creative is that?
I love it. They've set it up in the booth in different places, including Times Square, their signature theater space now. They've done this in Dubai, all over the world,
Goodness.
and it's then takes you back to. Excuse me, it
There we
takes you back to the essence. of theater, which is gathering people around the fire, a community or a family around the fire during harvesting time and sharing stories, sharing those journeys, letting people know that they're not alone in these journeys and their experiences. I love that. This is very
It's so different. It's I like the idea of it a lot because it is creative and different and engages people in a fresh kind of a way. So I
yes,
want to ask you that ask everyone this question. We've had 2 years of COVID. People are
yes,
just now out and about. I mean, you can do that performance because people are out again. It's not even been a whole year that people have been out.
yes.
And what did you do during the pandemic when you could not be out and about?
I was busy. I was
Great.
very busy during this time, and I did jump online. I do find that this movement of, of presenting online is very revolutionary. If we
Yes.
talk about theater, and I did a lot of theater online. People saying, "Well, it's not theater if it's online." It is coming together of communities and sharing stories. Uh, even online, how do you connect,
Yes.
is the question. How do you connect with other people through this medium? And it is possible. So I did a lot of writing and directing and curating online during this time. One initiative that I did was for Southern Methodist University in Dallas. um, I was talking to them about how do we continue to connect? How do we continue to teach? How do we continue to create during this time of
Mhm.
COVID and the separation? So I created a piece called Resistance 2020 for its students that we rehearsed online and presented live streamed.
That's
And then
great.
that continued with the online platform, Black Album Mixtape.com,
Yes.
Regina Taylor's Black Album Mixtape.com, where I invited people across the board, students to faculty to professionals in the field to uh, HBCUs across the country, people abroad, to create pieces off of the themes of today, whether that was COVID, George Floyd, or the election, politics, medicine. We had doctors, we had lawyers, we had journalists talking to people, creating their own pieces, and speaking on the issues that we don't need to be silent about right now. This is not the time to be
Good.
silent. How do we have these conversations? We have to have the bravery to speak our minds.
And what have you done with the mixtape, with Regina Taylor's mixtape?
Yes, it is currently online.
Great.
I will be working this fall with the Highlander Center in Tennessee, which is a social justice organization supporting the arts. So
Great.
I'll be working with them on a piece about Fannie Lou Hamer. On
Ah, important. Very important. As we approach yet another election that is there, there's so many interesting things that we can say about the the electoral process. And Fannie Lou Hamer was there
yes,
early on, fighting that good fight.
yes.
That's
Yeah, and yes, losing some battles and getting back up, knowing that the battle isn't finished, that we have to keep standing, get up, get back up, keep moving forward.
that is
Yes.
so true. We have 1 minute left. What would you like to leave folks with? Advice from Regina Taylor.
Oh, um, that it is now. It is right here and now. That we need to look back on our ancestors, uh, figure their strategies and how we apply them to this present moment. Uh, that we uh, figure out the new technology of it, the new language of it, and certainly the old spirit of it that still courses through our veins. We need to figure that out, reflect on that, and figure out how we move forward.
Beautiful. Regina Taylor, thank you so much. It's been a delight to talk to you. We're going to look up that mixtape because
Thank you.
that just sounds like a lot of good food for the soul. So thank you for all that you do, and
Absolutely.
we look forward to continuing to see you in your work.
And thank you for all that you do. You are inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. You've been listening to Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole here on WBAI. Thank you so much for being with me. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.